Welcome to Own It, the podcast where we talk to real estate thought leaders about embracing your strengths, taking your career to new heights, and owning your future.
We are live at Side by Side. Welcome to Own It. So if you hear some background noise, that's what we are doing. It is our annual gigantic conference that we hold at the beginning of the year. And our amazing guest today is Marcus Miller, the founder of Helm Real Estate. Thank you so much for joining us. And I am joined along with my pretentious
guy. I brought a pipe to make me seem a little bit smarter.
Great.
I don't know if it's going to help.
It's not helping.
Sometimes
it's
it doesn't
making me
help.
less smart. So Spencer Kroll, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, you know what's exciting, though? Because we are in San Diego, California. And, Marcus, you spent time in San Diego, California. You said 6 months? Is that what
and
you
not
said
time in jail.
Not time in jail. No. You didn't serve
right.
time. You didn't do time. You didn't do time.
Well, sort of.
Oh, well, I guess. I mean, I guess it can be kind of confining.
Part of my stay here was sort of captive.
All right, so here's where I'm going to
talk about that.
Well, so I want to find out. You were in the Navy,
Correct.
Obviously. Now, is it submariner or submariner?
It's submariner.
Submariner. See, okay, you've already taught me one thing.
Yeah, there isn't a marin. It's
Okay.
Marine.
Submarine. Okay,
So-
a submarine. So you were
Marine biology. Yeah, submarine.
You served on a submarine.
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, are you
So how did you get into the Marines? Not the Marines, the submarines.
Not the jarheads. No, I was offered. So anyway, pleasure to be here in San Diego with all of you. Thank you. It's great to be with both of you, and we'll make this fun. So yeah, I served during the Cold War, and I was offered two routes. Submarine service is all volunteer, but you could also go into nuclear engineering, and math accepting with commissions is not my forte.
So
And so I went submarines, but it's an all volunteer force, and I started here actually via boot camp, which I was talking about being captive. So you're doing 8 weeks of kind of indoctrination, as it were.
Is that
in the
Camp
Navy.
Lejeune? Is it the same? No, that's the Marine.
It's a Marine.
Okay.
So yeah, this was NTCC when it was here. Now it's a mall. It's changed since I was here, and this is back in the spring of 1984.
Okay. Wow.
So it's been a bit.
Yeah, and so did you? Oh, I'm just curious. I'm just always fascinated with this. What did you do on the submarine?
So I was what I call a walking security violation, because I was a crypto specialist, and I was the only specialist on the submarine.
And we're not talking cryptocurrency. What crypto are you talking about?
No, we're talking about encoding, decoding systems. So we were talking earlier about broadcast radio, television. I used to work in telecom, so telecommunications in the Navy, and specializing in encoding and decoding systems. So Coke and Ring, and sort of basically not allowing our enemies to be able to acquire and hear us talking, sending data, teletype information, that kind of thing, is all encoded daily. And I was the one guy on board that was a specialist in all the encoding, decoding systems.
So it was all on you.
It was. And
The buck stops with Marcus.
Here's a funny trivia point, is on the submarine, they couldn't go out on patrol without me. They'd have to replace me. They'd have to find somebody else, but they literally could not leave port without their crypto specialist.
Because you had
I was the guy.
You had all the instructions.
Well,
or you knew how to decode the instructions, I guess. Is that kind of what it?
Yeah, and how to program, the systems so that they got updated daily, and if they broke down, how to repair them and get them back it up and running. Anyway, so yeah, crypto specialist, worked in radio. So we're in touch with Joint Chiefs of Staff, the President of the United States, through Joint Chiefs of Staff. So because if we were called to do work, it was not a good day.
Okay.
Because we had 16 birds in back, as we used to call them.
That's a nuclear missile, I'm guessing. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And it's an Ohio
Lafayette class submarine.
Lafayette class submarine.
So
Okay.
how long were you in a submarine? Because I'm extremely claustrophobic. I can't even wrap my head around it. I would die.
So we used to call them 4 knots to nowhere, which was our patrol, and we would be like in these 100 square mile quadrants. But Joint Chiefs of Staff, the Navy, didn't even know where we were, because we just had to be in a box in a 100-mile area. And the patrols were 60 to 75 days at a time. So if you didn't like being in a moving Winnebago with no windows,
Nope.
with 150 other people, then it's not your space.
I'm good. I'm going to pass.
But the best food, you got the best food in the Navy, I'm told.
In the Navy, we do.
Yeah.
And midway on the patrol, we'd get steak and lobster. And we'd have a big party, and it was kind of a mid-patrol celebration.
Now, speaking of a 100-mile radius, how's that for a pivot
You're
for real
very,
estate?
very
Right?
talented.
Was that really smooth? No one noticed. But so how did you get into real estate from that?
Do you sell
Interesting.
submarines as homes?
No. Going back in my history, so one of the great things about being in the military is that you have the GI Bill, and so let's go to being independent, right? In our industry, one of the things you'll find in a lot of realtors is a really high mind for independence, entrepreneurship. And so that's who I was. And when I went into the Navy, I was 18. I had no idea what a 6-year contract was. In fact, a lot of my peers haven't committed themselves to 6-year contracts in general. I mean, that's a big deal. But I went to 2 years of schools, 4 years of being on the submarine. So I spent the equivalent of about a year underwater. Long story short, going back to your question, how did I get into real estate? So I wanted to stay in telecom or broadcasting, and so I got out. Berlin Wall came down in the fall of 1989. They were waving 20 grand in front of me, and I was like, you know what? This was a great experience, but I'm done here. Packed up my little truck, drove from Charleston, South Carolina, where I was living, drove cross country, came straight to San Francisco, went straight to the spring semester at San Francisco State, which had a great broadcasting, radio, and television program. Well, one of the things that they didn't tell me is that it was a great training, by the way, being in the broadcast and being a freelancer in production, because they didn't tell me that I wasn't going to have a full-time job, and you actually have to
every
go.
Friday.
That's right.
Yeah.
You actually have to go out and hustle.
Yeah.
So production and I was networking and talking to people and, hey, do you need help with camera, field production, in-studio work? I'm there. And I was even doing camera work at a Chinese broadcast in San Francisco. I didn't even know what they were saying, but, the director was calling the shots in English, and there I was making $10 an hour, pointing my camera, keeping it focused. But the dot-com bomb happened in early 2000s, specifically spring of 2001, and I was laid off from I was VP of Sales and Marketing for a production studio. And I was like, am I going to move back to New York or L.A.? No, I'm not. San Francisco is my home. So I went to LifePrint, which was a kind of a career counseling program. There was 10 of us and a career counselor, and had to reinvent myself. Myers-Briggs, what's the color of my parachute, all that. So it became Priest, insurance, or real estate.
Oh.
Priest, insurance,
okay,
and real
all right,
estate.
so-
Let's not go into what Spencer would be on that list.
I would actually sell insurance to priests. Were you interested in the priesthood at all? I mean, was that?
I'm actually a PK. Do you know what a PK is?
A preacher's kid? Yeah.
That's my dad.
Sure. Okay.
He's a Lutheran minister.
Did you know that, by the way?
I had no idea.
Okay,
What would you call an Air Force kid? And be nice, because it's
Air Force brat?
Yeah, that would be me.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Army brat, Navy
Yeah.
brat,
Yeah, my parents were in the fashion industry. I don't. There's nothing for that, but
Pretentious.
Hence the pipe. Well, so you had those three choices ahead of you. So, but I'm assuming you weren't interested in preaching then. After.
No.
Okay.
My dad had filled that role, and I spent plenty of time in church, so that wasn't where I was going. And then insurance was, in my perspective, pushing paper, and there was nothing sexy or interesting about that. But homes and real estate, and I knew I knew two agents in San Francisco who I did informational interviews with, and one of them is John Woodruff,
who is the
founder
of
Athos. Mm-hmm. And so I worked with him as his assistant. And back in the day, he had I think he started his career in '87. This was 2001, 2001. So in the summer of 2001, I started working with him as his assistant, and we turned what was his best year and did a 2X on it.
Impressive.
So there was something about my working with him and working in this industry that just resonated with me, and I was kind of a natural. And I think it's about the networking from production. It's about being out in the field and literally building bridges and relationships with people. That's one of my superpowers, I suppose.
What you were doing sales with the production company as well, right? You were out there, so you were selling. Did you find that did it translate?
It totally did. So what ended up happening is I went from field production, or being a gun for hire in the marketplace in the production world, to being a product line manager for a kind of a high-tech lighting company for studios around the world. CNN, CCTV in China, you name it. But I went from that over to selling so I went what they call below the line to above the line. And then I was, all of a sudden I'm in, from production, now I'm in sales. And so then the transition from networking, freelancing, and engaging people and sales, that's what translated. Is that whole experience led me to move from the dot-com bomb to getting into real estate and finding that I really, working with John Woodruff, founder of Athos, that I had an affinity for this business.
Mm-hmm.
So, Marcus, you were the founder of Helm, which goes back to the Navy career, right? I can infer that as much. How did you parlay the skills that you learned in your Navy career into now being the quote-unquote captain of Helm and running a team?
It's a dual-edged sword, right? Because in the military, you're working with people and what they call a chain of command, so it's very structured. Real estate, I always find that it's like herding cats.
That is a fair statement.
So you have to lead by example. You have to lead also by showing a successful practice, which is in fact what I really appreciate about being with Side and working with Side, is that you are working with the best in the field, best of class in their respective marketplaces. And so that's how you can turn to your team, in our case, a crew, right? Because there's a team which scores points and all that. But a crew is more significant to me because we really are looking to collaborate. We're looking to look after each other. We're looking to help each other advance. And so to me, as the skipper of the Helm crew, I'm inspired by their work. I hope they're inspired by my work. It is a world of persuasion. It's not a world of because I ordered you to. It's more a world of, hey, here are all these tools. Here are the best ways, best practices to help you advance the business you want to build. Because everyone in our business has different objectives,
right?
Including myself, right? We have all kinds of great people that are going to be here, and there's thousands of stories that are going to be in this room and objectives around what they want to do, what they want to achieve, how they want to lead, if they just want to follow, if they, there's just all kinds of stories, and that's what's great about this podcast.
So, Marcus, do you coach your agents as well? Like, do you?
I do. Yeah. I do. And I would call it more mentor. I wouldn't call myself a coach per se, because there is a line there. But I do try to mentor, and in fact, I work closely with Justin, who's near and dear to
my
Hillary's
brother.
heart.
Justin Hedemark. Yes.
Right. So, and I found out after he started working with me that he had his license for a few years but hadn't practiced. Mm-hmm. So from ground zero to where he is now, and being a top producer, I was glad to be on his journey and continue to be.
Yeah, so being in real estate, Marcus, is a lot of times is taking risks. Because like you said, you wake up, unlike having a regular job where you're getting a paycheck, you have to basically hustle and make a paycheck. Every day, after you sell a house, you're unemployed, right? Is what they say, you're unemployed again. That's taking a lot of risks. I'm told that you're a risk taker. I am told there's some story about you jumping off like some
Cliff.
huge height, like a cliff
Some
or something,
cliff.
where you could just break your leg just by landing in the water. What is this story?
When I first came out to the reason I'm in San Francisco is because I went to crypto school at Mare Island. And I got to know the topography, the place, the people, and I would bounce around. And some folks took me up to Lake Berryessa, which is kind of an hour north of San Francisco. And we were jumping off of cliffs and bridges, and when you're in your 20s, there is a sort of a no fear and a ignorance of your mortality. And so I was doing those kind of things with my friends when I was up here. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Did you ever hurt yourself?
No.
No. Okay.
Well, bruises, but nothing more than that.
So how do you parlay that into, well, risk-taking, creating your own company? That arguably is an extreme risk, right? Because the buck stops with you. You have to be able to create a culture and an atmosphere where people will want to join you and mentor them and then run this company. How did launching Helm compare to those other physical risks?
Historically, even with Side and starting Helm, which we're happily in our 6th year.
Congratulations.
Where most real estate businesses fail within 2 years. I think it's 85%. So to be on this side of a continuing adventure and success story, I'm a risk taker, but I'm also conservative in the sense that I, not unlike Side, like working with people I like and want to work with, and that are motivated and really want to put in the energy and the time. Because ultimately, every day, as you point out, you kind of wake up, in some senses, unemployed, and you have to earn your keep for that day. I mean, we're a 100% commission-based industry. It isn't for the meek or the faint of heart. You literally have to get up and earn your keep every day. But you're in an environment where it's very volatile. And, it's an ebb and flow. And like my financial advisor advises, be diversified. So you have to be networking and talking to people and engaging in calls and for some door knocking, cold calling, and all of that. Or like I do, I work principally by referral through my sphere of influence. So every day you have to kind of be engaged, and it takes a lot of energy. But it also, I think what's exciting about it is if you're energized by it and work with people in a way where your fulfillment comes from that satisfaction of bringing them from concept to fulfilled real estate, outcome, that's gold, right? For anyone that's in this business.
You are prospecting for clients all the time. Are you also prospecting for agents to join your team?
Yes. And that's, I have to admit that's been one of the biggest learning curves for me, because you end up, right, when you're going from having your own book of business, maybe having a small team, to then going into management and then also recruiting. That's been a learning curve for me, and it's still to this day. And I consider myself a work in progress, and will until the day I die. But I find that actually is a challenging piece of this business, because it is so competitive, and it is so, in some cases, draconian in terms of what everyone's offering and doing and saying. And that's a piece that I'm still working on, to be honest.
Is this something you like doing?
I'd rather work with my clients in the field than doing that piece. I wish that there was that would be something that I could hire out, and it's not that easy. So, because qualitatively it's not that easy.
Well, and to your point, and I don't want to say it's a motto, but you have a very tight-knit crew. Like, someone that is going to fit really has to fit. There's no putting a square peg in a round hole situation. Like, you can't finesse someone to fit, because you guys are so tightly, I don't want to say joined, but you work very cohesively and you work very well.
Well, and that's following in the side philosophy, really, if you think about it. I mean, first off, all things being equal or unequal, you want to work with people you like, right? But you also want to work with competent people and people that are a fit for your organization. And
we're laughing because we work together.
Well, I was going to say, you keep me on board no matter what, but thank you. I appreciate it.
I might push you off the boat later.
And there will be a boat in our future. So that's a true statement. So with that, so it's really about working with the right people. Because if it's all about numbers, which isn't what we're about philosophically, then yeah, you could add people all the time, see people come, see people go, but that actually speaks to more of a traditional brokerage model or team model than what I want for us. So
I want to do a couple takeaways because I always like listeners to be able to say, "Oh, I can implement that."
Sure.
Having gone through, the military career, because we do have a handful of partners who have gone that route, what would you take for anyone who is thinking about going into real estate, who has that background? How can they parlay that experience into being successful in real estate? Just a couple key ideas or thoughts or traits that are inherent.
I think if you have a military background, one of the things that came for me was academic discipline, right? From comparing my college career to my high school career, you'd think I was two different people. And in the middle was my military experience. And that military experience really refined and helped me focus on what was important, on time management, on discipline, right? Standard operating procedure. I came out of San Francisco State with summa cum laude.
Ooh, fancy.
I was 3.8 when I got out. But
don't
it was
ask
because
Spencer his GPA.
I was going to say, I was
Those
nowhere
are
near
letters
there.
to
Yeah,
him.
that was, yeah.
So,
Wow.
I do adore you.
You might push me off the boat tonight. This is a little worried now.
let me know if you need a witness.
I'm going to need a puddle jumper to rescue me. Thank you.
There you go. But in any case, the point isn't to boast, but rather to speak to my experience in the Navy that helped me really focus on what was important. And in this business, there are so many details, and it can be daunting. But if you take it a piece at a time and you kind of work at it from a discipline standpoint, standard operating procedures, and you do it every day and you knock it out every day, and you really commit yourself to the time and effort that it takes, you're going to be great. You'll be very successful.
So how do you handle when you need to adjust those systems?
You pivot. I mean, you literally adjust. And that's why I go back to being a work in progress, because none of us is doing it perfectly. But you have to adapt to your marketplace, who you're working with, who's on your team, what your resources are available to you to help respond. And one of the beautiful things about what we're doing is that we do have all these great people, resources. I just walked by the Revive table and talked to Brian, and I'm thinking, I'm bringing up my crew in a way that allows them to advance their own practice by doing the higher level work, which isn't you need to sell this, let me put up a sign, here's the flyer, here's the MLS printout, and
insert eye roll here.
Yeah, right. For those of you listening. Yeah.
But what we want to do is operate at a higher level, establish a baseline of excellence in what we do. And in some ways, like I guess we're going to have a speaker here that's a Navy SEAL, which I have a lot of respect for and would never publicly say anything bad about Navy SEALs, because that's just bad policy.
I wouldn't do it because I'd end up dead, but that's, yeah.
But we'll probably hear a lot about discipline and focus and, doing more than you think you can do, which is also something that I learned in track and field, is you think that your body won't be able to go further, but your mind is slowing you down, not your body. Mm-hmm. And
we always had, in swimming, it was the invisible brick wall. Like your body goes to it, and then you have to break through the wall, and then once you break through it, you're golden.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And I think we'll probably hear some of that, because Navy SEALs, that's their forte, is going to the brick wall, blowing up the brick wall, and then continuing where no normal mortals go.
Right.
Because they don't auto limit. So I think that going back to the original question, I think the military teaches you to advance in a focused, disciplined way, which in this business, if no one hands you an instruction manual, and there's all kinds of structures, but if you really do move forward in a way that allows you to really be effective and efficient and create your form and structure that allows you to do a great business. I mean, it's academic.
Where do you, as we wrap this up, I want to hear where your aspirations are for Helm for the next, not just 2024, but in the next chunk of years, whether you consider that 3 years or 5 years. What is your vision and hope?
Good question. Thank you. My vision for Helm Real Estate is that we're going to be a tight crew of really capable professionals that elevate the industry. I don't see for us having a lot of people, but having the right people. And again, it backs into this whole philosophy in this room and with our partnership with Side around a qualitative growth. And in fact, if I may say, one of the things that I've come into is the concept of Helm being a safe harbor. We're here in San Diego. We're overlooking the bay. And a safe harbor is where clients, agents, and vendors can come together and know that they're going to be taken care of, that they're going to not have to worry about the agent, just worry about the property, and that vendors can work with us and execute on what we need to do to help not only elevate the industry and the work we're doing, but also improve the quality of life of everyone involved, clients, agents, and vendors alike, because I really feel strongly that that's what's missing in our industry. Is really elevating up in such a way that allows us to advance everyone's interest. Why it shouldn't just be one or the other. It should actually be a win-win-win across the board. And so for Helm Real Estate, it'll be a small, tight, and mighty crew of people that are like-minded, that want to collaborate, who want to advance, who want to work hard, play hard, and have a great quality of life, but look after all the parties and work in a safe harbor that allows them to really advance in life and in work.
That's awesome.
That's beautiful.
I like it.
The question that I have for Marcus is about the qualitative growth that you've had since starting Helm.
Well, it has been. Well, first off, from the early days, we've definitely gone 100%, 200%, and above in terms of our monetary growth. So talking about GCI, and coming off of 2023, 2023 was a good year, but it was also a humbling year because it makes you realize, like I learned very directly, the 2008 subprime debacle, that we don't control the market controls us.
Right.
And so you have to be, when there's dark clouds ahead, you have to be prepared and ready for those things. Mm-hmm. And I think that any good professional in this industry needs to be thoughtful about that.
Well, that's interesting because you actually have a lot more historical context, I would say, because in military, history repeats itself. You look at cycles and you look at the world as a global player. You don't just look at a tiny little, only 2023. So I'm curious, do you take that experience and that knowledge base to then look at the real estate industry and your experience in it and say, you know what, I see where this came from, I see where it's going, and on to the next?
Absolutely. I wasn't going to bring this up, but when it gives you perspective, and this is pretty tame. The world we live in is pretty tame compared to the world I used to live in, where
nuclear submarines with buttons,
fire in the missile compartment, nuclear reactor meltdown in the engineering spaces, flooding in the torpedo room. When you prepare,
death is imminent.
When you engage and prepare for those kind of events, this is, okay, so you have reserves so that you can actually overcome slowdowns in the market and advance yourself through pivoting, resetting your sails, and heading in either a different direction or doubling down on what's working and giving up what's not working.
Well, when you have a perspective like that, though, too, I mean, you're mentioning stuff like, flooding or a fire in a torpedo room or something like that. It's like, so losing a listing isn't that bad. When you think about it.
What's the equivalent to the 30,000 foot view down, i.e. the Air Force view down? What's the equivalent of seeing the world from the submarine? Is there an equivalent?
I don't know. Well, you don't see anything in the submarine.
I don't think you do, but
they have all those radars.
What's interesting about it is that we use bathymetry.
I don't even know.
You know what bathymetry is?
No.
Okay,
oh God, I'm going to have to look it up.
So bathymetry is actually looking down. So you're cruising along, let's say at 300 feet, and bathymetry is systems that actually look down and very silently project down so that they can read the bottom. And it's like mapping.
Wow, that's cool.
So bathymetry is, Air Force, you're looking down, right? In submarines, you look down at the bottom of the ocean, and you send down a signal and then trace the bottom of the ocean. So it's topography is above, bathymetry is below.
Yeah, which is important.
I have learned so many words today. This is fabulous. Marcus, you're a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, I thank you.
Well, I think with that, I think we can go to 040 feet, zero bubble.
Come up to telescope depth?
Yes. Well, actually, I guess that would be 090 feet, right? Would that be?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
It's about right.
Do you know
how many windows are on a submarine?
I'm going to say none.
There's two. Two periscopes.
Oh.
And they're about this big.
Yeah.
That's like 4 inches by 4 inches.
Otherwise, you're out there actually cruising along just listening.
Also, I can't.
Hunt for Red October is a good reference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, again, I'm claustrophobic. I can't. I don't even sleep in a sleeping bag. Like, it has to be.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Really?
I am so claustrophobic.
Oh, wow.
Now somebody's going to torture me, so thanks. I let that out there. But Marcus, if people are interested to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you on Instagram? Obviously, Helm, they can search and you come right to the top.
Yeah, at Marcus Miller Helm Real Estate.
Super easy to find you.
For Instagram, I'm on Facebook and all the socials. Feel free to look me up at helmrealestate.com.
I love it.
And reach out.
Very cool.
Well, thank you so much for being live podcast with Own It. We look forward to everything that you have coming for you and your amazing crew in this year and years to come. So thank you very much for being our guest.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
As always, you can always get a hold of Marcus also through ownit@side.com. Shoot us an email, and we're happy to pass that on. And we'll see you and talk to you on another episode.
Yeah, so ahoy, or
Ahoy.
whatever you're supposed to say. I don't know. What do you say to say goodbye in the Navy?
Well, there would be a bell rung, and you'd say, Marcus Miller departing.
There you go.
All right, well, Own It departing. There you are.